life is a long journey. It's like a marathon race.
Right,
so
sir.
it didn't make sense that time as a cadet that why do we have to do all this? But later you realize that in uniform as a serviceman, you cannot leave your soldiers or your belongings back. There is something good about uniform.
It is, sir.
It is. You all are wearing
Indeed
uniform.
so.
There is something so good about uniform which a person who is not worn cannot relate. The best thing I felt was the parade and the drill we did. Because I always say the drill is bedrock of discipline.
Right, sir.
This thing I learnt my NCC days. 3/4 of the people who apply to join NDA, their first choice is flying. By 4 means you can become an officer in the AirForce or this. Most of the young generation is not wise. Now, how do you get wisdom? Now, what is a leader? So, a military leader or a person in uniform, what a leader? He asked me, vegetarian? I said, yes. So, he put the hand in that plate, he took out that piece of chicken and he says, now it is vegetarian. तो जब पैरा के लिए गए तो वो फियर तो था नहीं, बट उतनी शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन में ये कोर्स करना एंड स्पेशली जंपिंग फ्रॉम एन एरोप्लेन, दैट फीलिंग विच यू गेट.
Join Hind and welcome to another episode of Voice of Red Hackle, a podcast of the Cadets, by the Cadets, for the Cadets. Today we have with us Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, Ati Vishishta Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal with us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, we spent more than 40 years in uniform now, and it's been quite a journey. You were first a cadet of National Defence Academy yourself, and then you reached to become the commandant. So how has this journey been?
This journey has been nothing but spectacular. Most of us, about 300 plus from my batch, when we joined NDA, we all are of similar build, similar mental strength, similar physical strength, similar in all aspects. But like I keep telling everybody, the journey for everybody is different. Most of us start to feel sad or bad in case in school or in college you don't do well. You find your colleagues and friends are doing better than you.
Right, sir.
You start feeling bad. He's got more marks, he's come first. But that is not life. Life is a long journey. It's like a marathon race. It's not a 100-meter race. So, during our journey in services, all of us were nearly going together. But say after 15-20 years, when you start getting your ranks, we found that some of them did not, our own batchmates and colleagues did not move. Some had a lot of compelling and pressing requirements, so
Right,
they left. Some others continue, and it is a journey with which you have to continuously devote yourself each morning. And I always say that when you wear uniform in the morning, when you get ready, you should be a different person.
Right, sir.
Because you should ask yourself that what have I done today for the service, for the country, for my people.
Right, sir.
So if you go with for your work with this mindset, you will never go wrong. And that's what I followed, because this was told to me by one of my ustads when I was young. A lot of things you gather, but the only thing is that you have to keep it in mind. And it was absolutely fascinating after 40 years when I reached NDA as commandant. And as luck would have it, I had never visited NDA after leaving NDA.
Oh,
So 1984 I left NDA. I joined NDA in 82.
Right, sir.
And in 2022, I reached NDA again as commandant. So I had never visited. So moment we started crossing, there is a NDA crossing, the roads which we led, the familiar gates started to come, the familiar, so my wife, we were coming from the airport. So I started telling my wife, because she had never visited NDA before I got posted as commandant. So I started telling her en route that this is where the flying is taught,
Right.
this is where the riding is taught, this is where our grounds were, this is where we used to play hockey, this is the shopping hub, like this. So she told me after about 5-7 minutes that she says, it appears that you have, come back here.
Right, sir.
Because the best 3 years of your life you have spent at NDA
Right, sir.
in that place. So it was wonderful to get back to
Right,
NDA.
sir.
And never thought that I'll come as commandant. That's what I was saying. As a cadet, you never think that you will reach that position.
Exactly. sir.
But God had been kind.
It was the
and,
destiny
that
there.
brought me.
That's really nice. Sir.
Okay.
So there are a lot of buddy moments when we are in academy. So is there any buddy moment you want to share with us?
Buddy moments, yes. The camps there, we have 3 camps in NDA. One is in the 2nd term, one is in the 4th term, and the third one is in the 6th term.
Right, sir.
So as a cadet, we all are having a bicycle, and the academy is spread in over 8,000 acres. So
Right,
your
sir.
PT ground, to your drill ground, to your sports ground, to your classrooms, to other swimming pool,
Right,
there's
sir.
large amount of distance.
So, I have to
So
cover by
everybody
bicycle.
has to cover bicycle, and he cannot be late. He has to be there for that next class at that time.
Right, sir.
So the center of gravity for a cadet in NDA or in any training establishment for that matter is the bicycle.
Right, sir.
Now, lot of people have issues in the bicycle because in NDA there are about 3,000, 2.5 to 3,000 cadets. Now 3,000 bicycles have to be maintained.
Right.
So some obviously with wear tear give way. So some chain will come out, some cycle will have a flat, some handle will not be working properly. But as a cadet, we were never allowed to leave our bicycle.
So you
So
have
you
to
used to
take-
give your bag, we used to lift it up and move with our bicycle.
Right,
So
sir.
it didn't make sense that time as a cadet that why do we have to do all this? But later you realize that in uniform as a serviceman, you cannot leave your soldiers or your belongings back.
Right, sir.
Right, sir.
So you have to carry everything with you. And this subconsciously, mind works in various levels. One is like I always tell that when you go in the morning to brush your teeth, you don't think that you're picking up a toothbrush. You don't think that you're putting a toothpaste. You don't think. All these things happen in subconscious mind
Right.
because you have done this activity again and again. So your brain doesn't have to think. It happens naturally.
Exactly.
Similar thing happens, this thing that your concern for your people, your own, things which are given to you is so much that you can't leave anything behind.
Right, sir.
So at that stage, a lot of your buddies, help you. Somebody will pick up your bag so that you don't, other than bicycle, you don't have to lift anything.
Right,
When you go to the camps, which I was mentioning, some people physically are not that tough initially. So their equipment, their guns, their rifles, this thing is held by the other people.
Right, sir.
And some people, have stress fractures, cramps. So amongst us, you make a stretcher, and then 2 guys would be lifting another guy and helping. So these are some buddy moments
Right,
which
sir.
we all went through, and that camaraderie and bonding is phenomenal. It's
Right.
phenomenal.
That's how you learn, leaving
That's
no
it.
man behind.
Yes.
Right.
So, sir, you're a family with 3 generations in armed forces. So, what was your vision to join the Indian Air Force?
See, my father was in the Air Force.
Yes, sir.
So as a child, I used to see my father doing up his uniform.
Yes, sir.
And he used to put his ranks, badges. Each evening I used to see my father polishing his shoes. Many days I used to help him. And I liked the way we went around with him to social functions, to meet his friends, to meet this thing. And we used to be taken once a year to be shown the aeroplanes.
Yes.
We used to be taken once for squadron and unit functions. And I was so happy to see the camaraderie, bonding between the families. And like when my father used to go on duties here and there, the people, the families, the other ladies used to come to our house asking my mother if she needs any help. Or as a child, though I was in a military school, but when we used to come on holidays, we used to be invited to our friends. So the atmosphere in the services was so good that we grew up in that atmosphere. And that subconsciously, groomed me to continue to pursue what I wanted to pursue. And that has moved into my family also. So I have 2 children, my son and a daughter. Both did BTech. Both got placed on campus placement from corporates.
Right, sir.
but both wanted to join Forge. So today, my son is a submariner in the Navy.
Oh, that's great.
And my daughter is a flight lieutenant in the Air Force.
That's
She's
lovely.
posted.
That's lovely.
So, without saying,
Legacy is
the
being
legacy
carried.
continues.
Right, sir.
Right, sir. So you were the motivation.
No, I was not motivated. My brother is a pilot in the Navy. So, there is something good about uniform.
It is, sir.
It is. You all are wearing
Indeed,
uniform. There is something so good about uniform, which a person who is not worn cannot relate to.
Right, sir.
So there is that sense of pride. Actually.
Everything
Every
you
day.
can't define. You can't define in a few words. It is the respect. Like as an NCC cadet today, if you are walking on the road, you can see the respect in the eyes
True.
of the fellow citizens.
Exactly.
So, all this journey of 40 years, I have always had a wonderful association with people outside the uniform, because the respect you earn, just that you are wearing a uniform, it's phenomenal.
It is, sir.
So, be it any organization, be it police, be it paramilitary, be it CRPF, be it state constable, any uniform, the respect for uniform is across. It's across.
It is there. So now talking about NCC, you were also junior division cadet in your school time. So how was your experience there, and how do you find today's Amrit Kaal ke NCC different from yours?
See, I was in an NCC in 1970s.
Right, sir.
I studied in Chal. In those days, I was an air wing cadet. And the NCC headquarters was located at Kullu.
Right, sir.
So, it was quite far from our school. It used to take nearly 10 to 12 hours from Kullu to come to our school. Our school had a parade ground, the sports ground. And I remember as a child in class 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, those days, we used to wear our uniform. Though we had a school uniform, but the NCC uniform is the similar one you're wearing.
Right.
We used to wear belt, and we were checked for our turnout each day. We were checked for our conduct each day. We were briefed about the air part of the NCC, that how does an aeroplane fly. The best thing I felt was the parade and the drill we did. Because I always say the drill is bedrock of discipline.
Right,
sir.
sir.
Because you cannot instill discipline in people till and to do anything in life, you need discipline. And the more disciplined you are, the chances of your success are much higher.
Right.
Much higher. All sportsmen, all people who have done exceptionally well and who are doing well, if you take out a common trait, would be discipline. And next in the order is consistency. And I always say, if you do 100 push-ups on one day while doing morning exercise, and then don't do anything for the rest of the days, has very less meaning rather than doing 10 push-ups for 10 days in a row.
Right, so that consistency factor
Right.
should
So
be
this thing I learnt from my NCC days, wherein we were given a schedule and we had to follow that schedule. We had a lot of activities, camps in those days. So I have wonderful memories of my NCC days.
That's great.
So the aim of the NCC is to imbibe patriotism in the cadets, to teach them the social service. So how do you see this?
The probability ratio of the people who will from NCC go into the armed
Yes,
forces
sir.
is finite.
Right, sir.
But all of us, when we have worn this uniform, are different people. Some spend 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8, whatever tenure you spend in NCC. This bringing up of your basic ethics and core value takes you through for the rest of your life. And to me, being a good citizen, a person who's law-abiding, a person who has got a helpful nature, because I find NCC teaches you how to help and groom and take on responsibilities
It does.
at
Right,
every
sir.
level.
Right.
I have seen NCC cadets helping large number of institutions in activities which are not a part of their mandate also.
In the COVID era, we
Yes.
did that.
So that's what I was coming to.
Yes,
During
sir.
COVID, during any disaster, during any major event at
Right,
national
sir.
level or a state level, the volunteers of NCC I have seen are, now how does this passion come? Nobody has forced you, but something within you tells you that I have to do this. And
Right.
I find cadets and students doing these things happily and willfully.
Exactly.
This is what is the most important takeaway, in my opinion. Your selfless devotion to give things back to the society and being a good citizen and a good person who can take this country ahead is the best takeaway, in my opinion,
Right,
from
sir.
NCC.
Right, sir. So, being an air wing cadet myself, I'm so passionate about flying, and seeing a pilot, sitting next to me, I'm really, curious to ask about your flying experiences.
See, flying is a totally different ball game. Flying, while at NDA, in this thing, I used to see the people, the children who opt for flying as an option is as high as 75%. So it means 3/4 of the people who apply to join NDA, their first choice is flying.
Right, sir.
But there are a lot of factors which cadets are not aware, or the children are not aware, as to what to expect when you opt for flying.
Right.
First and foremost, in my opinion, is that you are to be medically fit.
Right.
That is, sir.
Absolute medical fitness is required. The standards are very high for your medical.
Right, there, sir.
The second thing is, there is something during our times, it was called PABT, Pilot Aptitude Battery Test. Now it is called CPSS.
CPS.
It is your ability to do things simultaneously.
Multitasking. should be there.
Multitasking. You should be able to monitor, you should be able to take actions. So it's a computer based training now, but our days it was manual. So they see your ability to do multitasking and yet retain your composure.
Right, sir.
Now this is done only once. So it means if you want to become a pilot and you have done a CPSS and you have passed, then if you want to become a pilot in the Navy or in the Army, you don't have to go through, or Coast Guard,
It's
this
only
procedure.
once.
It's once. And if you have failed, vice versa, you cannot become a pilot.
Right. So,
The major difference is in civil, anybody can become a pilot. You go to any flying school, you keep paying money. Now, why is this required in the services and why it is not required outside? Is that outside there is no compulsion on the number of hours that you have to go.
Right.
In services, we see your adaptability and change. You have to study 18 subjects if you want to become pilot. 18 subjects. Other than that, there are two huge books. One is on the checks and procedures and one are on the emergencies. So everything in that aeroplane which you are flying, you should be aware.
Right, sir.
So and how you should be able to take that aircraft alone. We call it solo. So at Air Force Academy, when you join as a cadet, you have to know everything about that aeroplane. You have to mug up this checks and procedures because there is no book.
right. So,
So which switch to put on at what stage,
Right.
what actions to do at what stage, you have to know. Plus all the systems which are there in the aeroplane, if there is an emergency on that system or this thing, because you will be flying alone, solo.
exactly.
So the effort required, plus physically also it is stressful to fly
Right.
initially because you're wearing a oxygen mask, you're wearing this thing, and you are to fly through clouds, you have to fly through, in strong winds, in other conditions. This adapting from what you know about flying seated in a room to actually going through is very
Right,
different. So when the reality is hit hard to cadets, some of them don't clear CPSs, some of them don't clear medical, some of them reach the academy but are not able to cope up in this duration. So in the end, only a handful of people
They become pilots.
They
yeah.
compile pilots. But that's not, I always tell, it's nothing that you have not been able to go to NDA. That there are other means. By 4 means, you can become an officer in the Air Force or this thing. You can, go through NCC
Yes,
Right,
sir.
certificate. So like you're in NCC. So you can get your C certificate and then become a pilot. Go directly apply and go for SSB. People come from CDS also. And now you can become a pilot through AFCAT.
After also. it's-
So there are 4 ways to become a pilot. And you could continue your passion and this thing even after graduation.
Right.
So I tell everybody that if you have not been able to crack NDA, if you've not been able to this thing, that's not the end of the world. Like both my children are short service commissioned and have
Yes,
gone
sir.
after graduation. So it is not that they appeared, my son appeared, that time they was not for girls. So my son appeared, but he couldn't clear NDA written exam. So it doesn't matter. today.
Then you can go ahead for the graduation
yes,
entries
yes,
further, right?
Right.
That is that.
Sir, the Amrit Kaal ki NCC is leading India towards making Viksit Bharat. So, how do you envision this? And what's your take
See,
on
the
this?
take by Honorable Prime Minister on the 75th is a wonderful step, I feel. Because you look at 25 years from now,
Right, sir.
we would be, say, the second or the third largest economy. India would be a superpower by that time. Who are the people who are going to lead this country? Is
The
people
young
like you,
generation.
your generation. So, if the morals, values, ethics, and the imbibing of the correct national culture is not given at this time, you are the people who will have to take this country ahead after 25 years.
Exactly.
You and your generation would be the people who would be running this country.
Right, sir.
So, it is an apt step, in my opinion, to awaken this generation to say that you have a responsibility.
Right.
You have a responsibility, especially after wearing this uniform, to realize that you have to take this country ahead. So, in my
Yes,
opinion,
exactly,
that
sir.
is the gist of Amrit Kaal. That the best phase of this country is going to come in another 25 years, and you are the people who are going to lead it.
Right,
Right,
sir.
sir. Sir, you have been the commandant of National Defence Academy and AirForce Academy. So you handled the cradle of youth. So what advice will you give
Yes,
to
very
the,
important.
youth listening to you?
Yes, I would tell all youth, especially there is a lot of terminology which has come in Gen Z, Gen A,
Right,
this
sir.
thing is basically the generation which has come with the internet. So, like I was discussing outside, during our time, the internet was not there. But your generation has, from the time you are born, you're very well connected, you're very well informed. But one advice which I give to all people of your generation and similar forums when I go is that you people may be absolutely aware, knowledgeable, and you may have all the information. But what I find lacking in this generation is wisdom. Most of the young generation is not wise. Now, how do you get wisdom? Wisdom is passed on from one generation to the other. Person who has more experience, person who has gone through that process more. For that, you have to spend time with people who are more knowledgeable, who are more experienced, who are elder to you in the family, or so they will share with you certain thoughts and ideas which will help you, which nobody else. Like I will give you an example now to make it more clearer. Say, the sunlight takes 8 minutes 30 seconds to reach Earth. Now, this is information.
Right, sir.
There is one sun, there are 9 planets, they move around in elliptical path, day, night, seasons, all that. That is knowledge. Now, what is wisdom? The wisdom is that anything which we eat today is because of sun. The air we are breathing is because of sun.
Right, sir.
The colors which we are seeing outside is because of sun.
Exactly.
Maximum illness today which people are having is because lack of vitamin D, sun. Your grandparents, your elders put pickle and put it in the sun. It never goes bad. Every animal in winter you'll find on the roadside lying in the sun. You put water on tulsi and all these plants. It emits maximum oxygen. Okay. Sunlight is so essential in human being's life that you cannot do without it. But this thing is not taught anywhere. A person who is illiterate living in a village will be wise.
Right.
He may not know anything about solar system. He may not know how much time the sunlight takes to come this thing. Now, how has he learned in a village or this thing? He has learned from his elders. He has learned from his this. So, what your grandparents have learned, what your parents have learned, what your teachers have learned, what your elders have learned, you must sit with them and ask questions.
That needs to be continued.
That needs to continue because these two factors alone may not take you much farther.
Right.
Because over-reliance on technology is the next subject. Today, in our days, we knew all the ways. We knew the roads. But today, the over-reliance on the Google Maps
We are
or
dependent.
so slowly, human beings have stopped using their mind. They have left everything. And as the things are moving towards robotics or AI, this thing,
Yes.
soon you will be manipulated. The media will manipulate your mind. The media will ask you to do things which are not correct. Media will ask you to do things which are not ethical.
Exactly.
So this is my next advice to people, that don't leave your basics. You may use it, I'm not saying, but don't leave your reasoning and logic.
Sir, you are also engaged with Raksha Mantri in making of 100 new Sainik school. So how do you see it as, it as a step to encourage youth to join armed forces?
In 2021, I was called to Ministry of Defence, and the Honorable Raksha Mantri constituted a committee
Right, sir.
to carve out new Sainik schools, about 100 of them. So this was the vision of Honorable Prime Minister. The background and the underlying concept being that more and more people should be wearing uniform.
Right, sir.
Like Amrit Kaal, NCC, which we just covered. All of you are wearing uniform. You are different from the children of your age or your colleagues who are with you in school who have
Right.
not gone through. You are different. You can realize it within no time.
Yes.
Now, if more children go through this process by being in uniform through education system only, that is military schools, Sainik schools,
Right, sir.
it will add more disciplined and people in the society who are law-abiding, who are willing to help each other, who are without any prejudice or thing, selflessly devote themselves for a cause.
Right, sir.
Now, if this factor is compounded, because all these things take time to show. So it's like planting a tree, and the tree doesn't become giving fruit in a short period of time. It has its own period.
Right, sir.
So the concept being that if you sow the seeds of 100 new Sainik schools, it will germinate, it will become into a huge tree which will start giving fruits.
Indeed, sir.
And for this, we worked with a lot of state governments. We worked with a lot of private institutions for land. Some existing schools were to be converted into Sainik schools. Some schools which had additional land offered to the government that we will give a portion of this land to make another wing, because they didn't want to disturb the curriculum and the school of a normal
Right,
this thing. So make a hostel, make a part and use the same. So there were 3 or 4 models that were discussed, and I'm happy. I think so about 40 to 45 have already been created.
Right, sir.
Till now. So the roadmap, it was a huge discussion for days together we've had in this committee. Our reports were deliberated with the state government, because in the end education is a state subject.
Right,
So we need the state government also to be on board to creating of that new Sainik school. So the state governments and the central government, we worked, and it is
That's how
coming.
it is done.
Right,
Right,
sir.
yeah.
So you've been a NCC cadet, and then now you're an Air Marshal. So how's that journey been from a cadet to the Air Marshal?
See, journey, I said earlier also, is nothing but spectacular. The best part is that you touch so many people.
Right, sir.
Like this morning I have come. I wouldn't have been able to meet any of you had you not invited me here.
Right, sir.
The happiness and the pleasure in sharing is the best form of communication.
It is, sir.
Whatever you have known, whatever you have learned. So what I realized till about 15 to 20 years of service, you are always working to get yourself, abreast with the professional knowledge and this thing. But beyond CO's tenure, that is around 20 years of service, the rest of the part is giving back. Because now, the second half of your service career, there are people who are attached with you. So their welfare, their day-to-day problems become your problems.
Exactly, sir.
So I always say in NDA, what a leadership is. It is all leadership.
Right.
Everything in the end, head of the family, your grandfather or father is a leader.
Exactly.
At home also, we have our elders who are leaders. Now, what is a leader? So a military leader or a person in uniform, what a leader is. So leader has 3 parts. What a leader is, what a leader knows, and what a leader does. So what a leader is groomed at the training center, be it IMA, AFA, NDA, wherever you go
Right,
through
sir.
a training. So they develop this basic what a leader is. What a leader knows is in the first 15 to 20 years of service career. How much knowledge you are able to this thing, how much courses you are able to go through, what you observe, what exercises you do, how various issues are conducted. With that, you get knowledge. And last phase of your leadership, what a leader does. Now, when your turn comes, how much of it are you able to give back is, I feel, my journey from cadet to marshal.
Right.
That's great. So it's been quite a journey. Sir, is there any particular experience which you want to share from us, which is unforgettable actually?
See, the flying, I have got about 8,000 hours of flying, has been absolutely fascinating. But 2 or 3 things stand out in this journey. One was that when I was, we were flying IL-76, it's a huge aeroplane, and we were operating in the hills to Leh, Thois, Siachen sector. Now, people who are associated with aviation will realize that flying in hills is totally different.
Right,
and flying the biggest aeroplane and the heaviest aircraft in those hills is totally different.
It becomes more difficult then.
And the air is so rare at those altitudes that many a times, if you go and land in a place like Leh, which is at 10,000 feet elevation, or Thois, which is much higher, or when you open your ramp for parachute jumping and people, the lack of oxygen is so I have seen a lot of people who have got hypoxic, who are having lack of oxygen, but they are not realizing it. So it starts to show, in your behavior. You'll start talking something which is, this is one anecdote which I'll share, that a lot of people start blabbering something. A lot of people will start in the aircraft,
Happens,
So initially we were told to observe for all these signs. And the topography is such that if you don't land the aeroplane at the correct place, so if you undershoot, there's a river short of the runway. And if you go ahead, we call it little overshooting, then the length would not be adequate for you to stop the aeroplane in that length. And in summers and this thing, the aeroplane is like a feather in the hills. And in one such case, we had gone to Russia to get an aeroplane, and I'm a vegetarian. So about 25 years ago, there was no concept of vegetarian known abroad. So we were having a meal at some place, and that guy brought us chicken. So chicken is called kurit in Russian. So through the interpreter, I conveyed to that waiter that I'm vegetarian. So we can ask the cook to give us something which is doesn't have meat. So he went and told that after some time, a huge burly cook came. And he asked me, vegetarian? I said, yes. So he put the hand in that plate, he took out that piece of chicken, and he says, now it is vegetarian.
The simplest way actually.
This is the simplest. So he says that you don't want to eat, so okay. So now this is the meat out of it, this is right. So they have no concept. Like that you can keep asking. So
right, sir. Right. Sir, you have served as the AOC of Agra also, and you have yourself done the para course. So how has your experience been there?
See, as a pilot, very few opt to do the para course because it's an activity which is likely to give you an injury. And moment you get injured in some way, you're flying career. So all your friends, colleagues, sab advise karte hain ki mat karo para course, mat jao. But then I opted for para course. I was a flight lieutenant those days. And it's a fascinating, because NDA में जो ट्रेनिंग दी गई थी या जो हमारी बेसिक ट्रेनिंग दी गई थी, उसमें फियर का जो एलिमेंट है वो निकाल दिया जाता है। आपको जो हॉर्स राइडिंग कराते हैं, आपसे जो बॉक्सिंग कराते हैं, आपसे जो 10 मीटर बोर्ड से स्विमिंग पूल में जंप कराते हैं, जो भी कराते हैं, इट बेसिकली सबकॉन्शियसली टेक्स आउट फियर फ्रॉम योर माइंड। तो जब पैरा के लिए गए तो वो फियर तो था नहीं, बट उतनी शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन में ये कोर्स करना, एंड स्पेशली jumping from an aeroplane, that feeling which you get, you yourself have done.
That's incredible.
When the sound of the aircraft goes away and you start coming down and descending when there is total silence and bliss. In my opinion, it's a wonderful feeling.
It is, sir. It's once in a lifetime experience,
Correct,
actually.
correct.
Even when we were there for the jump, actually. So for the first flying experience, we went. So in the first attempt only, I really wanted to jump. They don't let you jump.
They take you to the edge and then bring you back.
They say, do you want to jump? We'll say, yes, sir. And I really wanted to jump. But when our turn came, I was the first jumper in our second jump. So that experience, that 12 minutes, the aircraft was actually completing the circuit, orbiting. And those 12 minutes, I saw pura Agra, sir, usme. And that was a wonderful feeling. Ek moment pe it came to my mind ki, kyun karna hai jump? Life achhi chal rahi, why do you have to jump? But eventually, when you jump and when you land, sir, the feeling, the satisfaction that, yes, you have done something. And for the whole time, wo drop zone se where you are dropped. So you pack your parachute and then you go. Us duration mein I used to talk to myself. Ki Panchal, you can do everything. If you've done this,
So that's what I'm saying. The confidence which you would have gained yourself,
right,
having done the para course, will take you way ahead in life.
Exactly, sir.
Because now there is nothing which you feel that you cannot do.
Right, sir.
Exactly, sir.
So
I see my buddies now, those who have done para course, they are completely different now. They are so confident in themselves.
It brings anything which you do and achieve, which you have thought it will not be possible,
Exactly.
brings in confidence in you.
It does, sir.
Right, sir.
That's great. So before we end the podcast, we have a small rapid fire round for you. So, sir, if not armed forces, then what are the profession?
I would have been doing something with adventure. Because I have done
Very
rafting
obvious.
and
Very
So-
obvious, right, sir? Sir, a book or movie that inspires you?
Incredible India. And
Right,
there
sir.
was a movie called Vijayata.
Yes,
It's an
sir.
old movie about flying.
Yes,
Right,
sir.
sir.
Kiran's, because as a cadet, we used to see that movie, and it's actually shot in Air Force Academy.
Right,
and we have
sir.
flown jets as cadets. So that movie was really inspiring for us.
That's great, sir.
Right, sir.
So next up is a mantra or quote you live by.
Discipline and consistency.
That's great, sir. So now, what's your favorite outdoor activity or sport?
I play golf, and I go for a run thrice a week and do yoga thrice a week.
That's
Great, sir.
great, sir. So describe Indian Air Force in one word.
Way of life.
That's great, sir.
So, sir, moving with this, we have a few one-word questions and we'd want you to tell what you get. So, India.
Enchanting.
Right, sir. Flying.
Passion.
Uniform.
Courage.
Right, sir. NCC Cadets.
Future of this country.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. We are truly honored to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.